killed by a shot in the head or a heavy blow to the skull.
Hey, true believers. Have you ever wondered what a Hanna-Barbera production would be like if reimagined as a horror film? Well, I did not know that this was an amalgam that I needed. So tonight on After Dark, we are going over
The Banana Splits!
The Banana Splits was originally an NBC Saturday morning show that ran from 1968 to 1970. From what I understand, it was kind of the live action with the 4 Banana Splits. It was Bongo, Snorky, Fleagle, and Drooper. And people, I guess, enjoyed it for its time. Now, here we are, 2019, and we get The Banana Splits movie, directed by Danishka Esterhazy, I think is how you pronounce the name. And I can't believe that Hanna-Barbera actually gave them the rights to turn this into essentially what you would call a Five Nights at Freddy meets a kid's show. And that's exactly what we get. The movie, the whole premise basically is a little kid who loves the Banana Splits gets a chance to go see them live in the studio. The Banana Splits go nuts and begin killing everyone in the most gruesome, horrific fashion that you can think of. And that is sort of a simplistic summary of what the movie is. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it somewhere in between? Well, let's jump in and take a closer look. So the movie opens up on Beth, played by Danny Kind. And you notice right off the bat when she wakes up, she's kind of this timid woman. She goes about the house checking in on her kids. She scolds her son, Austin, played by Romero Carrier. If I'm wrong on that, feel free to make fun of me down in the comments. He says, "Mom, I'm 19. Why do I have to be home at midnight?" And she says, without any type of hesitation, "I need to know you're home and safe." And you're thinking, what is going on? And then she goes to check in on her younger son, Harley, who's played by Finley Wojciech Hissel. A lot of these names, I'm sorry, but phew. And he's excited. It's his birthday coming up, and it's late. So that kind of is how you set the tone of the main characters of the movie. Now, we start the next day, and you meet the dad, Mitch, Steve Lund. And this guy is, for a lack of a better term, a douche nozzle. Beth is trying to surprise Harley by saying that they're going to go see the Banana Splits live. And the only friend that he has says he's sick and can't go. And Beth looks at Mitch, and she says that he doesn't have any more friends. And you can just see how disconnected the father is, because he says he doesn't have any other friends? Huh. What I like here is the movie actually points out how much more of a dick he can be. Austin steals money from Mitch. And you can feel in this scene the tension, the animosity between these two. Because Mitch says, "You stealing money from me?" And he goes, "Oh no, I thought maybe one of my socks ended up in your drawer." And then there's a pregnant pause. So you're thinking, geez Louise. So there we got another character introduced. And then we are introduced to Zoe, played by Maria Nash. And essentially, she unwillingly gets suckered into going with Harley. She's like, "I don't like the Banana Splits." And the mom makes her go, saying, "Well, maybe Harley's trying to reach out to you to make friends." So with that said, we jump back to Harley's birthday. And he gets this gift, this magic wand thing that just extends. I'm a little jealous because I want one too. I have no idea what it is, but I want one. And I will say here, without trying to spoil, keep the wand in mind, because it becomes an essential tool later on in the film. Now, to dig into how much more of a dick Mitch is, he upstages Beth by taking the Banana Split tickets out of her hand and gives them to Harley, and he goes, "Thanks, Daddy." And you're just thinking, wow. We sort of get this foreshadowing as Harley says, "Here is where we get to meet the meat," or as I like to say, the roll call of victims. We are introduced to Paige Naledi Majola, And she's Paige the Page, which I do not get the joke. If anybody else did, let me know. I think it's one of those ones where they made the joke and then no one in the audience, like the fourth wall audience, is supposed to understand it. We're introduced to Parka, Leah Satch. She is the young daughter. Basically, she's like this child star, and her father, Jonathan, who's Kino Lee Hector, and he's making her a prima donna. Like, he's that helicopter dad saying, do you want to be famous or not? Do you want to get discovered? We're introduced to Thad and Poppy, Kiroshin Nadu, and Selena Martin. And these two, you hate them at first. I really hated Thad. Just the name, Thad. They are the examples of modern day hyper fandoms that have to live stream everything. Now here, Paige says that there's no cell phones in the studio. And when I was talking to my buddies, we were watching this film, I was telling them, I said, I like how modern technology makes filmmakers have to be more creative with how phones are unavailable in certain areas. So around the corner enters the Banana Splits on their banana buggy. Harley jumps out in the middle of the road and almost gets hit. And here, again, we echo back to the mom freaking out. She says that you have to be more careful in that. Now here's some more foreshadowing. Keep this in mind for later. Now, while this is happening, Mitch the Prick, it almost rhymes, I think I might stick with that. Mitch the Prick is glued to his phone. And Beth says, your son almost just got hit by the banana buggy. And the father just goes. So here, there has been no redeeming qualities with Mitch whatsoever. Like, you can kind of see how Beth hovers, but she at least cares about her family. Austin, you can kind of see that he's sort of the black sheep, but he cares severely for his little brother. And then Harley, even though he's shown as being the kind of little weird social outcast, he still has a personality. Same with Zoe, which here Paige goes and takes Austin's phone. And as you can see, Austin's not exactly smooth at flirting. Now that we've had the cast of Meat introduced to us, we are now shown a house of horrors. This does not look like a shop for a kids show. We're introduced to Carl, Lionel Newton. Now, why in the hell is an upgrade box looking like a phone booth? Some of the choices, I mean, it's great for the mise en scène, but it makes absolutely no sense. Now, as they go to do the upgrade, you see how it can go very, very wrong. Which then leads us into Rebecca, Sarah Canning. And she's sort of the main, I want to say like PA. She's asking where the giant hammer is. Now, keep that in mind. Again, there's a lot of foreshadowing here. And she says, do I have to do everything? And she runs into Andy. And this is Daniel Fox. And this guy, he is the epitome of every douchebag producer on Earth. He essentially tells her, I'm canceling the show. Said every TV producer executive ever. Now, in this universe, you have to remember too, because as we've seen with cell phones and whatnot, in this universe, the Banana Splits didn't go off the air in the 70s. It's still a hit to this day, which, if a show could run that long, a kid's show, that's pretty impressive. Now, we finally get into the recording. Paige tells everyone that if they look at their tickets, those that have gold stars on the back can stay after the show and meet the Splits. Sadly, Harley does not get any stars on his ticket. But of course, the most hyperactive fans get the gold tickets, and then Jonathan, oh my god, the way he's doing his best as with the character that he can, but you really start to really not like Jonathan. He's just very much the epitome of that type of parent, and you're just thinking, oh, please, man, just sit down and shut the hell up. Please, 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 please. I'm going to go, we are now introduced to Stevie Richard White, and he embodies everything that is the bitter child star. And just to see a full-grown man on a tricycle like that, which makes you wonder, how drunk is he? Well, we'll find out later. Now, Austin, I like how even though he's sort of the black sheep, and he seems timid, but he's like a passive-aggressive timid. Like he disappears, he's saying that he'll be back. And I don't know, I just enjoy that type of poke, like, what are you going to say to me now? And that's why, for the most part, the one person that I enjoy in this movie is Austin, because what we've seen so far from every other character is they're very one-dimensional. Beth just seems like the mother. You know, Rebecca just seems like your very high-strung producer. You know, Jonathan's just this helicopter dad, and nobody really seems to have any depth to them. And a lot of times that can kill a show if everyone is one-dimensional. So I at least appreciate up to this point that Austin, there's more to him. But sloppy time, this is important, but just kind of keep an eye on how these kids maneuver the course. And of course, Jonathan, and then Mitch. Mitch is probably the most, let's quote Peter Griffin, shallow and pedantic character thus far. This is his son's birthday. And he looks at Beth and says, I need to check in with the office. I need to go find my phone. And so he just ups and leaves. I can't believe what type of father this is. And you cannot stand Mitch whatsoever. It just makes you want to kick him in the face. Fist, I suppose. Now, a sloppy time, one of the main things is you have to get the blue key. That is very pivotal. And same with the giant hammer. I bring these up because, again, they play a significant part later in the movie. Now, how drunk is Stevie? Well, Paige finds out. So you can see that Paige does not like this guy because he's sitting there hitting on her, you know, piss-face drunk. And I can't believe he's doing a kid's show this smashed. And Paige runs into Austin. And she's thinking, how the hell did one of the attendees get back here? Now here, this is what I meant by there's more to Austin. I like how he just looks at her and he says it's his little brother's birthday. They didn't get any gold stars. And he's asking if there's any way that his brother can meet the splits. It would mean the world to him. So again, I really like how he cares about his mom and his little brother. It shows that he has a big heart, even though he doesn't necessarily wear it on his sleeve. And you start to kind of see another side of Paige. Now we're back to the show, and they're getting ready to do to spin the wheel, and you can kind of see that Zoe's actually getting into it. See, I like that she kind of goes from hating the splits, and she was very standoffish about it, and she really starts to enjoy herself, and it really gives a lot of depth to her character. So as they're rocking out to the Banana Splits song, you see Drooper trip Stevie. Was this on purpose? Was it intentional? Here the suspense slowly again begins to build and it makes things feel a little more uncomfortable. So after the recording, Paige says that her assistant, which she calls the other Paige, Doug, will show you out if you didn't have a star. Now here, this kind of feels a little out of place for Thad because he looks at Poppy. Let's put a pin in this, but I just want to point this out right now. This part in the movie really makes me begin to enjoy Austin and get invested in his character, because as Harley and all them are getting ready to leave, Paige stops them. And it kind of gives you this swelling heart moment. You're just like, oh, that's really sweet. And then, oh, good old Mitch. Useless bastard. Ugh. Now, jumping forward a little bit, Stevie, still drunk as ever, toasts to their cancellation. And I like as he walks away, you see Trooper's eyes glow red. Like the entire color scheme just changes, and it helps create the atmosphere that this is not a happy little kid show anymore. And so Stevie kind of gets what's coming to him in the eyes of the splits. It's a very uncomfortable death scene. Actually seeing how far that lollipop can go down his throat. And the reflection of his death in Drooper's sunglasses. Whew, this was another scene that was just really hard to watch. Now, the next scene during the tour, you're thinking, okay, the madness has just begun. The lights go out, and you're waiting for the robots to come out and just slaughter everybody here on the studio floor. So that to me was kind of a cool way of flipping the false scare, which, you know, they do those jump scares before the actual horror, and it's getting overplayed in a lot of modern films, but I like how this one takes it, and you're thinking, oh boy, something bad's going to happen, and there's the photo op. Now, while everyone's trying to get their photos taken, here's where I meant by Jonathan becomes an insistent jerkwad. His Paige is trying to take everyone's photos, and you're thinking, dude, just go the frick away. You are obnoxious. Now, while that's happening, Thad goes, what's on your cheek? And you know how horror films are, because splitting up is always such a good idea. Now, I like how the kids are the ones that ask the most critical question. They're saying, why is Drooper all wet? And I like how the music begins to change, and the tone of the movie really becomes that dark feeling. Mitch. He's out on his phone. And here, finally, things kind of come to a head with these two. I was really afraid that this was going to get drug on through the whole movie. But Beth sees how much of an asshole Mitch is. And here you kind of start to finally see why Beth is such a helicopter mom. Because you begin to find out that Austin's father passed away. We're never really told how, but at least, again, starts to put some depth into Beth, other than just kind of being this obnoxious Badinsky mother. And here we cut to Rebecca, and she's pissed about being fired. She throws the Drooper doll. This may just seem like an insignificant moment of anger, but that's, again, very nice low-key foreshadowing. And that's what I enjoy about this film, is little tidbits lead to bigger moments. And here we are, effing Jonathan, and how uncomfortable he makes this scene trying to promote his daughter, Parker. And what does she sing? My Humps. What kind of father has his daughter rehearse My Humps? Is that going to be what gets her on the map? I don't know. You keep thinking that she's either going to have all this talent or she's going to suck, but in the middle, she was just sort of this average kid. And I think they're trying to get across that Jonathan knew this, but I think he's in denial. Now, again, talking about character development. Thad and Poppy end up in Drooper's magic shop. And even though they're annoying, very annoying millennials, It's still sweet. Even though there's streaming involved, it's sweet what he does. Which harkens back to what I talked about a little while ago, where he says, do your mom and dad follow you on Instagram? And she says, why? He goes, oh, just random thought. It helps. Like, again, you hate the majority of all these characters when the movie starts. But then as these things start to unfold, you start to really empathize with them. Which helps the audience give a damn about what happens to him at the hands of Flegel. And what Flegel makes Poppy do. Oh my God. I think without the proposal moment, this death scene would have just made it feel like cannon fodder, and you wouldn't have cared, which is a big trope of modern day horror, is they don't give the characters time to interact and breathe and grow. So when they die, you're just like, whatever, person number one's dead. Oh, number two's way over there. No, here you see what is going on, and you just wish that they'd been able to get away and live happily ever after. And then the practical effects are definitely what makes this scene pay off. If all the guts and blood was CGI, like most modern films overly use, this would have been cheap and boring. But because old school methods were applied, it's uncomfortable to look at, and it works. Which here, Mitch is just trying to low-key not care about being dumped by Beth. And then we see Snarky running down Mitch. And I started cheering. I was like, get him, get him, get him. And the POV of the car, the banana car, coming at Mitch, it reminded me of very remnant of the Evil Dead. The camera swerving. And as they're going down this road, I'm thinking, Mitch, dumbass, why not just jump up on the railing? But it's Mitch. He's a shallow character. Who cares? And hi, Jonathan. Here he is again, looking for the producer. This guy isn't bad, but Jeebus is he annoying. He's looking for Andy. And what happens to him, the opening flame, which you could tell is badly CGI'd, that was kind of, but once the fire is lit, holy crap, that would hurt. The practical effects thereafter, again, another very uncomfortable death scene to watch. Now Beth, in her infinite wisdom here, is trying to find Harley and Zoe, because now not only is she missing her son, she's missing the kid who she's supposed to be babysitting, essentially. And Austin says, oh, my friend, how you are so wrong. Even the producer, Rebecca, says everything is under control. And enter Jonathan, though at this point I don't think he's looking for an audition. What makes the banana split so interesting up to this point is at the beginning of the film they didn't really talk, so it sort of gave that eerie feeling, but more like a mascot type style. Now, as we've seen with all the gore and the madness starting, they begin to talk, and it really gives them that other worldliness about them. Now, with Bingo saying that, we finally get a chance to see Beth come into her own, changing from the sheepish and timid person to a fierce mother bear as she beats the shit out of Bingo. Again, this lays more depth to her character. Now we cut back to Rebecca and Jonathan, and in walks Flegel. The way the spotlight shines on him, the absence of just the eyes, no real presence of the pupil. Rebecca pulls the mask from Drooper. Again, you slowly begin to see the robots being otherworldly. Now, they want these two to run the sloppy time course. Remember when I mentioned that a little while ago? And this is so uncomfortable to watch. Seeing these two in pain, Jonathan with his face with God knows how many degree burns. And he hits, and you hear the thud of his face and the bones cracking. It literally makes you recoil in pain. Now remember the blue key? I'll let y'all take a wild guess. Hey, at least Rebecca finally found it. We get to find out what happened to the people that did not get gold stars on their tickets. You thinking they went home, whatever. but the gore factor and body count of the film, based on a kid's show, this is quite spectacular. Now, the last thing I want to reference is Harley keeps saying Snorky would never hurt him or anyone. Here it pays off. We get some awesome robot on robot action. And even after that, surprisingly, there's an emotional. Here you wouldn't even think that you would care what happens, but you do. You are emotionally invested, and that makes for some good storytelling. The banana splits. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it somewhere in between? I do feel like the director and everyone on this film tried their damnedest to make this an entertaining film, and I will admit it paid off. It may not be the next Citizen Kane, mind you, but the puppetry, the use of rebuilding making the old banana split set look somewhat authentic, the use of the lighting, the mood, building up these characters that have depth. Every element that you need for good filmmaking is here. Some of the payoff sucks. I will admit that. Mitch not having any type of redeeming values, just being a straight up jerk, that's kind of a bad flaw. But if you can set that aside and you just see how everyone falls at the hands of these puppets that you're supposed to be caring about, and what happens when their world is turned upside down, what do they do to survive? So I'm going to say this was a relatively good film. A lot of people, I was reading reviews, said that it was the next best film because it was the closest thing they're going to get to a Five Nights at Freddy's, which I've never played the game. I don't care. But just being a film and horror junkie and just seeing all the elements of using visual storytelling and using the dialogue to enhance it, the sense of the mise en scène, with the lighting, the costumes, the characters, the use of the cinematography, the way that some characters would walk in, there'd be low Dutch angle lens, there'd be low angle shots. It just works and sets the perfect mood. So I highly recommend, if you guys can get a copy of the Banana Splits, please do so. It's one of those ones that you're going to want to sit down with your friends and just think, wow, I cannot believe Hanna-Barbera let this pass. So with all that said, that was the Banana Splits, the movie. I hope you all enjoyed it. I really do hope that y'all will give it a watch. And if you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little splits bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with y'all and hearing your feedback down in the comments below or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, I hope you all continue to have an amazing evening checking out movies, and happy viewing, true believers.